Let me tell you a story. It's about someone you think you don't know, but you do, in ways you might not realise just yet. He's not a king, not a soldier, not a scholar. He's just a person, standing at the edge of something new, the kind of edge that hums with possibility. A small knapsack swings from his shoulder, stuffed with dreams he hasn't yet named. His heart is open, tender, full of trust, and at his side trots a scruffy, loyal dog, tail wagging expectantly. He has no idea what's waiting for him. He is the fool. But this isn't a story about foolishness. It's a story about innocence. That rare, untamed kind of courage that lets us step forward simply because something inside whispers, go. And so he goes. He takes a step and the world leans in, curious to see what he will do next. The sun is just beginning to climb the horizon, golden light spilling over the hills like honey. Our fool walks along an open path, the kind that winds lazily through wildflowers and tall grass, where the morning dew still clings to every blade. He hums as he walks, a tune he doesn't remember learning. His knapsack feels light, though if you asked him what was inside, he couldn't quite tell you. Maybe hope, maybe nothing at all. He doesn't know where he's going, and that's what makes it beautiful. Every step feels like the first. Some would call him naive, but there's something liberating about not having a map. He trusts that wherever this road leads, it will be exactly where he's meant to go. In time, he comes across a man at the roadside, standing beside an old wooden table, set up right in the middle of nowhere. The man looks up. Before the fool can speak, he's been expecting him. His eyes are sharp, alive, and his smile is the kind that says he knows more than he'll ever tell. On the table before him lie strange things. A cup half filled with wine, a golden coin that glints in the sunlight, a wand carved from twisted oak, and a blade that hums faintly when the breeze touches it. Beautiful morning, the fool says. Every morning is, the man replies, his voice smooth as silk, if you know what to do with it. He gestures toward the table. Go on. Pick something. The fool hesitates, then reaches for the wand. Why this one? The man asks. I don't know, the fool admits. It just feels right. The man smiles. Good, then trust that. He steps closer, tapping a finger gently against the fool's chest. Everything you'll ever need, he says, is already in here. These are just reminders. The fool feels a flicker, a warmth spreading through his chest like a match being struck. Something wakes up in him that he didn't know was sleeping. When he looks up again, the man and the table are gone. But his dog nuzzles his hand, a reminder that he's not alone on this journey. The field stretches before him, open and waiting, and the fool steps forward. By the time night falls, the fool is weary. The road narrows, winding through an orchard bathed in silver light. Gnarled branches twist overhead like dark fingers, and the wind carries the rustle of leaves, soft and a little unsettling. Owls blink from the trees. The air hums with something unseen, something just beyond sight. He glances at his dog, who pads quietly beside him, ears relaxed, tail swaying gently. For a moment, he wonders if he should be scared, but the dog seems quite content, and that calm steadies him, and he presses on. He almost misses her. a woman, sitting beneath a great old fig tree, her eyes half closed, her face serene. The moon hangs directly above her, draping the world in blue and white, turning the orchard into a quiet, otherworldly cathedral. He hesitates, his heart hammers in his chest. Every instinct tells him to keep walking, to stay safe on the familiar path. But something in the pull of the moonlight and the stillness of the priestess gives him pause. Slowly, she opens her eyes, and for a moment he feels as though she is looking straight through him, past skin, past thought, straight into the quiet, trembling part of himself he rarely acknowledges. He shivers, not from the cold. "I met a man today," he says finally, his voice small. "He told me everything I need is already inside me." She smiles, faintly, a crescent of light in the darkness. He's right. Then why do I still feel like I don't understand anything? Because you're trying to understand it with your head, she murmurs. Some truths are not meant to be learned, they're meant to be felt. The fool frowns, a knot of fear and frustration tightening in his stomach. How do I do that? By stopping. He blinks, unsure if that's wisdom or nonsense. The night seems to close in around him, the shadows deepening, the silence pressing against his ears. His knapsack feels a little heavier now. But as the night stretches on, something inside him shifts. The air feels different, thicker, slower, almost tangible. And for the first time, he senses something vast moving beneath everything. Life, quiet, waiting. When he looks up again, the woman is gone. Only the moon remains, high and bright, watching him with soft, unblinking eyes. He lies down beneath the fig tree, the earth cool and solid beneath him, and whispers, "Not everything loud is true. Not everything silent is empty." And with that thought, the tension in his chest loosens. For the first time on this journey, he feels the beginnings of trust in the night, in himself, in the unseen. He closes his eyes, and the night carries him gently into sleep, a little wiser, a little braver, though he doesn't know it yet. Morning comes like a whisper, soft and golden. The fool stirs from sleep, the night's lesson still humming in his chest. The road ahead winds into a valley that smells of earth and wildflowers, fresh and damp from the early dew. He walks without thinking, letting his feet carry him. Birdsong threads through the trees, and somewhere nearby water laughs over smooth stones. His dog bounds ahead, chasing bees with clumsy delight, tumbling through the flowers, ears flapping and tail wagging. The fool watches, smiling. And then he notices her. She is kneeling among the wildflowers on a low hill, hands deep in the soil, gently turning and tending the plants. Her voice drifts softly across the morning air, a low, lilting song that seems to make the flowers lean a little closer and the bees hum a little brighter. The fool is mesmerized. He watches quietly, careful not to disturb the rhythm of her work. "Good morning," he finally offers, his voice soft. She looks up, brushing dirt from her hands on her dress, and smiles. "Good morning," she says. Her voice is warm. "Are you a gardener?" he asks, though the word feels far too small. She laughs, light and melodic, shaking her head. "No," she says, "I'm just someone who remembers how to notice, how to nurture, how to let things grow." He approaches slowly, watching as she hums another line of her song, tilting a young sapling and pressing the soil gently around its roots. "You make it look effortless," he says. "Everything alive asks for something," she replies. "Attention, care, presence. You don't need power to give it, just yourself." "I think I've been walking past a lot of life without noticing it," the Fool admits. She gestures to the rich soil, the blooms, the bees dancing from flower to flower. "Then you've come to the right place. Let it remind you." She takes his hand gently, pressing it against the earth, warm, rich, full of life. The roots pulse beneath his fingers, steady and eternal. "That's why you're here," she says, her eyes bright. "To remember." He sits a while longer, breathing, listening, letting the hum of life, the song, the earth, and the joyful barks and tumbles of his dog wash over him. For the first time, he feels a quiet fullness, given freely without demand and always present. "Carry this with you," she says, pressing a small seed into his palm, warm and full of promise. "Wherever you go, even when it's hard, even when the world feels cold, life is still here, always." He feels its tiny weight, fragile yet alive, and tucks it carefully into his knapsack. He nods, feeling the weight of her words. As he walks on, the sun climbs higher, warming his back. He now knows that life can be soft, that abundance doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers in sunlight, in flowers, and in the happy chaos of a dog chasing bees. The sun is higher now, climbing over the hills, casting sharp lines of light across the path. The Fool walks through a valley of stone walls and neatly trimmed hedges. The air different here, colder, firmer, with a faint scent of smoke and iron. Ahead on a terrace carved from the hillside, he notices a man kneeling over a partially built stone wall, his hands steady as he sets each block with care, tapping it into place with a small mallet. Beside him a measuring tool rests, lines drawn on parchment showing plans, angles, and foundation points. The Fool pauses, watching quietly. Every movement is precise, deliberate. There is no flourish, no excess, only structure, order, mastery. Finally, he steps closer, unsure whether to interrupt. The man rises, shoulders straight, gaze unwavering. He does not smile. "Who are you?" the Fool asks, trying to match the calm authority before him. "I am someone who builds," the man replies. "I create order where there is chaos. I'm here to remind you that freedom without boundaries is nothing but dust in the wind." The Fool shifts his weight, looking at the terraces, the stone walls, the way every tree and pathway seems deliberately placed. "Everything here is so precise," he says. "Precision is safety," the Emperor replies. "Structure is protection. Without it, even the strongest spirit can fall." The Fool remembers the freedom of the Empress, the soft flowing valley, the way life seemed to bloom effortlessly. "Is it always this strict?" he asks. "Strict?" The Emperor raises an eyebrow. "No, necessary." He gestures towards the stone wall he was building, now straight and solid. "Everything you nurture must also be defended. Every dream you plant must be built upon a foundation. Discipline gives your wings shape. Otherwise, they are just feathers scattered in the wind." The Fool nods slowly, thinking of the life he carries in his knapsack, his hopes, ideas, the spark the magician had lit. And he wonders if he has the strength to structure it. Can it be both? He asks quietly. Can life be wild and steady? The Emperor studies him for a moment, then nods. Yes, he says. But you must learn when to build and when to let grow. Too much of either and you fall. The fool feels a chill, not unpleasant, like a hand of clarity, brushing over his chest. For the first time, he understands that freedom without discipline is fragile, and that love and life, no matter how bright, must rest on something solid. As he continues along the path, the terraces behind him seem smaller now, but no less significant. He carries forward the lesson. Structure protects, discipline empowers, and a life without order, however beautiful, cannot endure. The air warms again as he steps into a sunlit field beyond the stone walls, and he realizes that the road is widening, possibilities stretching before him, but he knows now to walk freely, he must also learn to stand firmly. The fool walks through a village as the sun dips low, painting the streets in shades of amber and rose. The narrow lanes are lined with stone houses that lean into each other, their windows catching the fading light like flickering candles. Smoke curls from chimneys, carrying the scent of bread and firewood through the cool evening air. He notices a large building at the centre of the square. Its wooden doors rise higher than a man's head, thick and heavy, carved with intricate patterns that twist and coil like living vines. Among the carvings, two keys cross each other in the centre, their metal tips entwined like a secret handshake. With a slow, steady push, the wooden doors creak open. Light spills from within, golden and warm, streaming across the cobblestones in a ribbon of light. Inside, the room is quiet, save for the faint tapping of a clock and the rustle of parchment somewhere in the shadows. And there, on a polished wooden bench, a man sits still, composed. His robes are simple but immaculate, the folds crisp and deliberate. His eyes, steady and knowing, lift to meet the fool's. The fool approaches slowly. "Good evening," he says, unsure. "Good evening," the man replies, voice steady. "You arrive at the close of day, perhaps just in time." He gestures for the fool to sit. "There is order here," the Hierophant says, "and rules. Some we see, some we do not. Some we follow willingly, others reluctantly." The fool hesitates. "Do I have to follow them?" "Not all," the Hierophant replies, eyes twinkling. "Some rules are walls, others are bridges. Some teach you to stay, some teach you to leave. The trick is learning which is which." The fool thinks of the magician who said he already carried everything he needed inside himself. He thinks of the Empress, who showed him life in its wild abundance. He remembers the High Priestess, who taught him that some truths must be felt, not seen. And he recalls the Emperor, who showed him that freedom, no matter how bright, needs a solid foundation. "How do I know which is which?" he asks. The Hierophant smiles. "You learn by listening to tradition, to others, and most importantly to yourself. Knowledge handed down has power, but it is useless if you cannot feel when it's right to bend it." He rises and gestures to a small room tucked away behind the main hall. "Tonight, rest here," he says. "Sanctuary is not about hiding, it is about preparing. A clear mind and a full heart will carry you farther than you imagine." The fool steps inside. The room is simple, warm and quiet. He sets his knapsack down and breathes deeply, feeling the weight of the day, of lessons, of choices, of the journey. His dog curls up at his feet, a quiet, warm presence, and together they drifted to sleep. When he stands to leave the next morning, the village is bathed in dawn light and the first birds are stirring. The Hierophant nods. Walk with respect, but do not be afraid to question. The path is yours to learn, but wisdom has been waiting here for you, should you choose to seek it. Rested, he steps out into a new day. The sun is warm now, spilling across a meadow that stretches as far as the eye can see. The fool kicks off his shoes and strolls barefoot in the grass, the breeze carrying the scent of wildflowers. He hears laughter, soft, bright, infectious, and suddenly the world feels sharper, more alive. And then he feels it. Love. Not a sudden thunderclap, but a gentle pull at his chest. A presence he can't see, but he knows is there. It makes his heart beat faster. He remembers the lessons of the Empress: nurture, care, abundance, and the Emperor: discipline, structure, boundaries. But love is neither flower nor stone. Love is fire that refuses to be tamed. He sees it in himself, reflected. Not just the part of him that hopes, but the part that fears, hesitates, doubts. And he knows that he must choose. He pauses mid-step, reaching for his knapsack and drawing out the small seed that the Empress pressed into his palm. His dog sits nearby, head tilted, watching him with quiet interest. The fool kneels in the grass, pressing the seed gently into the earth. Sunlight warms his fingers, the soil soft and welcoming, and he whispers a quiet promise to remember care, presence, and growth, always. His dog wags its tail softly, a silent witness to the moment, calm and encouraging. He closes his eyes, he breathes. Every memory, every spark of his journey, all whisper in his chest. And then he steps forward, not blindly, not without fear, but deliberately. Because love asks for courage, not certainty. The wind shifts, the meadow seems to sigh around him, and he understands that choice itself is sacred. To love is to risk, yes, but to not choose is to stop growing altogether. He realizes this is what it means to be alive, to stand at the edge of yourself and to choose anyway. He walks on, heart open, step steady, carrying the lesson forward. Love is not just about connection, it's about courage, about choice, and knowing yourself enough to take the leap. The path narrows and winds between cliffs, the air electric with anticipation. The fool feels the pulse of the world beneath his feet, a rhythm that seems to call to something inside him. His dog bounds ahead, ears flapping, tail wagging like a flag of pure joy, weaving through the rocks and leaping over small stones. The fool glances, laughs, heart lifted, feeling the dog's excitement mirror his own. He's moving faster now, not running exactly, but propelled by something he doesn't fully understand. He feels the surge of power in his arms, in his legs, in the very beat of his heart. The wind whips past, tugging at his hair, carrying the scent of salt and stone, of rain yet to fall. Every step, every breath feels like a battle, a push against gravity, against the inertia of fear. For the first time, he feels control, not over the world will always have its way, but over himself. He imagines a great chariot, wheels spinning, horses rearing, and somehow he is both driver and passenger. Every decision, every choice, every small act of courage propels him forward, but the road is not without its challenges. A stone slips beneath his foot, a gust threatens to throw him off. He stumbles, not enough to fall, but enough to know that control is delicate. Triumph demands focus. Momentum requires courage. His dog races past him, turns and barks joyfully as if urging him onward. The fool laughs out loud, exhilarated, terrified, alive. By the time he slows, stepping into a calmer stretch of road, he carries a new truth. Will is nothing without action, and the journey forward, fast or slow, certain or uncertain, belongs only to the one brave enough to move. The fool enters a forest, the path dappled with sunlight through the trees. The air is warm, scented with earth and moss, and quiet. His dog pads beside him, ears twitching nervously at the shadows. He comes across a clearing where a great lion lies, amber eyes calm but alert. The fool freezes. Fear flares in his chest, and for a moment he wonders if he should run. He glances at his dog, whose fur is bristling. Kneeling, he whispers, "It's okay." The lion doesn't seem angry. It's not hunting, not threatening. It's waiting, patient, majestic. The fool takes a slow breath, feeling the pulse of the forest, and he realizes courage isn't about not having fear. Courage is walking toward it, hand extended, heart open, and trusting that you will not be consumed. He steps forward, gently touching the lion's back. Its muscles ripple beneath his hand, and he feels the weight of raw strength, power tempered by calm, force guided by patience. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispers. The lion tilts its head, eyes unwavering. The fool understands. Strength is not in dominance. Strength is in restraint. Strength is in love. Love for yourself, for others, for a world that challenges you. He stays there for a long time, hand on the lion, heart steadying, learning the quiet mastery of patience and inner power. By the time he leaves the clearing, he feels taller, not because he has conquered, but because he has faced fear. The lessons linger as he walks on. Real strength is gentle. It is quiet. It does not need to roar. It is the courage to stay, the patience to wait, and the discipline to act when the time is right. The fool continues, dog padding quietly beside of them, both of them alert to the forest's subtle rhythms. Sunlight flickers through the trees, dusting the path with gold, and then he sees it. At first, he thinks it's a trick of the light, a shadow shifting between the trees, but no, there it stands, rising from the horizon like a silent sentinel, a mountain, broad, solid, impossibly tall, its peak lost in the clouds. The size of it takes his breath away. The path he's walked, the lessons he's learned, the courage he's gathered, all of it suddenly clicks into place. The mountain has always been there, always. He just hadn't noticed. The dog tilts its head, looking up at him as if sensing the shift in his understanding. The fool kneels to pat its head with a quiet smile. "It's time," he murmurs, feeling both fear and excitement mingle in his chest. "Time to climb." The fool stops at the base of the mountain, chest rising and falling with the effort of climbing before it has even begun. The path twists upward, narrow and jagged, disappearing into clouds and mist. Sharp rocks jut from the earth, and the wind whistles between them like the voice of something ancient and unseen. For a moment, he considers turning back, the memory of easier roads and softer valleys calling to him. Fear tugs at his sleeves, whispering that he is not ready, that this climb is too steep, too cold, too lonely. But then he thinks of the lessons he has learned of strength. where patience and courage tamed a lion within him, of the chariot where willpower and focus carried him through chaos. With a deep breath, he steps forward, 1 foot, then another, and another. Each step carries him higher. The fear still there, but smaller, tempered by the knowledge that he has faced much already and can face more. The sun is softer here, filtered through clouds and mist. Silence drapes over the rocks like a thick blanket. The air is thin, cooler. At last, he reaches a small cabin perched near the summit, smoke curling lazily from its chimney. Inside, a solitary figure sits by a lantern, face half hidden in shadow. The fool hesitates at the doorway. "Hello?" he calls softly. The elderly man does not answer at first. Then, without looking up, he speaks. "Sit or don't. The mountain doesn't care either way." The fool steps inside, the warmth of the lantern a small comfort against the chill that clings to his bones. They sit together in silence for a long while, and the fool feels the urge to fill it. Words, stories, questions, but none come. Finally, the hermit speaks again. "You've walked far, seen much, learned some, but there is something you can only find here, alone." "Alone?" the fool asks. "But isn't this lonely?" "Alone is not lonely," the hermit says softly. "Alone is where you hear yourself, where you meet the parts of you that are always with you, but you don't notice. Fear, hope, regret, courage, all of it waits for you in the quiet." The fool closes his eyes, letting the silence press in. For the first time, he feels the weight of himself. Not as a dreamer, not as a hero, not as a wanderer, just as he is. Time stretches, thoughts settle. At first, the fool tries to keep count of minutes, of heartbeats, of how long he's been sitting in silence, but the mountain is patient. And soon, time begins to unravel. The flicker of the lantern never changes. The shadows never move. There are moments he worries he's stayed too long, that the world below has moved on without him. He stands to leave more than once, only to pause. Something inside him tells him he's not finished yet. So he stays. Slowly, the stillness stops feeling heavy. He stops counting the days, because there are no days, just breath and thought and the whisper of the mountain's pulse beating beneath the stone floor. When he finally steps outside, the air is bright and sharp. The wind rushes past him like an old friend, urging him onward. He looks down the mountain path and blinks against the light. He doesn't know how long it's been. A night, a week, a lifetime? It doesn't matter. The world below feels new again, shimmering with colour and sound. He understands now some lessons cannot be hurried. Some truths cannot be shared. They can only be found in stillness, in reflection, in the company of oneself. The fool walks on, quieter now, listening. He continues along a winding road, the sun bright overhead, when the world suddenly tilts. A gust of wind knocks him off balance. A stone crumbles beneath his foot. A flock of birds rise at once, startling him into a run. And then he stops, breath ragged, heart hammering, because he realizes nothing here is stable. Nothing is predictable. He stumbles into a clearing, and at its center is a massive wheel turning. Its spokes shimmer in the sunlight, inscribed with strange symbols he doesn't understand. He watches as leaves and dust and even shadows move with it, swept into motion, whether they want to be or not. "This is life," he tells his dog. "One moment you're on solid ground, the next, everything shifts beneath you." He climbs onto the wheel cautiously, testing its motion. It rises and falls like the rhythm of a heartbeat. His balance wavers, fear claws at him, but he realizes he can't fight it, only hold on and move with it. He sees the world spinning in new ways, some moments soaring, some plunging. Friends appear and vanish like shadows. Opportunities slip through his fingers and then return in unexpected forms. He feels dizzy, alive, terrified, and strangely free. He remembers the lessons of those before, all their guidance, all their gifts. And he sees now that fortune is not about control, it's about acceptance. About knowing that the wheel will turn and that even in the falls there is a lesson, a rhythm, and a chance to rise again. When he steps off the wheel, his legs are shaking, but his heart is steady, and he understands. Life is neither kind nor cruel. It simply moves, and he must move with it. He walks onward, the wind at his back, the sun warming his shoulders. The wheel will turn again and again and again. But he has learned something precious. The only true failure is refusing to rise when the world tilts beneath you. The fool comes to a river that cuts through a valley like a silver blade. The water runs clear and cold, reflecting the sky, the trees, and himself. He kneels at the edge, peering into its depth, and sees not just his face, but every choice, every action he has taken so far on this journey. And suddenly, it feels heavy. He remembers the leaps he took, the trust he offered, the mistakes he made, the chances he let slip away. The river does not judge, but its reflection demands honesty. A figure appears across the water, balanced, calm. A sword in one hand, scales in the other. You see yourself clearly. The figure says, I try, the fool admits, his voice trembling, but sometimes it's hard to know what's right. Right is not always what feels good, Justice replies, nor is it what is easy. Every choice has a weight. Every action leaves an imprint. The fool watches as the scales tilt slightly, balancing, readjusting. I can't control everything, he whispers. Control is an illusion, Justice says gently. But awareness is not. You must carry your choices with care, take responsibility for them, and accept their consequences. That is the only way to move forward without being lost to regret. The fool kneels by the water, letting its chill wash over his hands. He breathes deep and feels the clarity of truth settling inside him. When he stands, Justice nods, and the river seems to shimmer with approval. The fool continues along the path, carrying not guilt, but awareness. He understands now that life is not just about moments of joy or fear, but about facing each choice with honesty and courage, and trusting that balance will follow. The fool comes to a bridge, suspended over a deep, silent gorge. The wind hums around him, tugging gently at his clothes and hair. He steps onto the bridge, then stops. He sits cross-legged in the centre, letting the world move around him. Birds wheel above, clouds drift lazily across the sky, and the river far below whispers its secrets. He hangs there, not in fear, not in indecision, but in pause. At first it feels strange. He's used to walking, to moving, to learning by doing, but now nothing moves but the world itself, and slowly he begins to notice the details he had been missing. The way the grass bows to the wind, the soft dappled patterns of sunlight on stone, the distant call of a bird, the same note again and again. And then he begins to notice himself. The heaviness In his shoulders he never stopped to feel. The small ache in his chest that isn't pain but longing. The rhythm of his own breath and how it seems to match the breeze. The thoughts that come and go like weather, some bright, some storming, all passing eventually. He realizes how often he's tried to outrun himself, how often he's filled silence with noise just to avoid what might rise up from the quiet. And in that stillness, the line between him and the world begins to blur. Time softens. The air hums, and then comes a revelation. He is not separated from the world he walks through. He is the world, breathing, changing, becoming. He sees that the journey is not only about forward motion. Not everything must be earned through action. Some truths are revealed only when you surrender. Some lessons appear only when you step back, let go, and see things from a different angle. He imagines the world upside down, sideways, a kaleidoscope of perspectives, and for the first time he understands that insight does not always come from fighting, striving, or pushing forward. Sometimes it comes from stillness. Finally, he rises, feeling lighter, freer. The gorge is still below him, the wind still whispers, but he knows now that the pause, the suspension, was not a halt, but a pivot. He glances back at his dog, giving it a small, reassuring pat. "Good boy," he murmurs. He carries the lesson tucked quietly in his heart. Sometimes, to move forward, you must first stop. And sometimes, to see the world clearly, you must see it from a new angle. The fool walks through a forest as the sun begins to sink, its fading light spilling through the trees in ribbons of gold and fire. It feels familiar, not in a way he can name, but in the strange, echoing way of a dream he's had before, one he can't quite remember. The air smells of pine and damp earth. The path beneath his feet feels worn, ancient, as though countless others have walked it before him. He hums a quiet tune, the same one that's followed him since the start of his journey, though now it seems thinner, lonelier. The forest hums back a slow, steady murmur that makes the hairs on his arms rise. The light fades, and shadows stretch long across the ground. And then the stillness, the kind that presses in from all sides. Even the birds have gone quiet. The fool slows his pace, his heartbeat sounding too loud in his ears. The air tastes like metal, charged and strange. Something is coming. He can feel it. A slow, insidious darkness starts spreading through the forest, curling along the ground and climbing the trunks of trees. It smells of rot and earth turned cold, of leaves blackened and crumbling. The fool tries to run, but the shadows seep into his feet, pulling at him, winding around his ankles, crawling higher with every desperate step. The air grows thick, heavy with the weight of decay pressing down on him, filling his lungs. He is thrown to his knees, gasping, blinded, as everything he thought was solid, laughter, lessons, faces, the very path he walked, begins to blacken and rot, consumed by the creeping death that claims all it touches. His dog, startled by the creeping shadows, bolts into the trees, barking but quickly disappears into the darkness. Death does not appear as a shadowed figure. It comes as truth, cold, absolute, and unstoppable. He cries out for his dog, calling its name over the press of rot and silence, but the sound is devoured by the consuming decay. The dog is gone. He lies in a clearing that wasn't there before, chest tight, hollowed out, grief pressing in as he realizes his companion has vanished. Broken trunks, fallen, blackened leaves, the hush of what once was. And then, slowly, through the ache, he understands. Endings are not annihilation, they are transformation. He lifts his head and looks around. Beneath the ruin, the faint green shimmer of life is returning. He rises slowly, trembling, bruised, heart heavy, not just with pain but with absence. He carries the lesson deep inside. Transformation is pain, yes, but it is also promise. By the time the darkness recedes, the first light of dawn touches the horizon. He steps forward again, aware that the path doesn't only lead through beauty, it leads through endings too, and that every death, no matter how it shatters him, is clearing the way for something new to grow. He murmurs his dog's name one last time, a soft hope that the companion he's lost may yet find its own way through the dark. The fool walks along a quiet river, the water moving slow and steady, a mirror for the sky. His heart feels heavy, weighed down by absence, the loss of his loyal companion pressing in with every step, yet the world moves on. He senses someone nearby before he sees them. By the river's edge, a figure sits bathed in morning light, calm, deliberate, almost otherworldly. She pours water from one vessel into another, the stream between them smooth and unbroken, like breath moving through still air. The fool approaches, unsure what to say. I don't know how to move forward, he admits. Everything I thought I knew is gone. Temperance smiles faintly, without judgment, her voice soft, measured. Then move slowly, she says. Grief is not a race. Loss is not a storm to outrun. It's a river to learn to navigate. She gestures to the water, the way it flows between the vessels. Balance is not about holding everything perfectly. It's about learning to blend what has been lost with what remains, to mix sorrow with hope, memory with growth, absence with presence. The fool kneels beside her, watching the water ripple in her hands. He breathes deep, letting the ache in his chest and the hollow weight of his loss settle. Your grief will teach you, she continues. It will temper your spirit. You do not move past it, you move through it. Let it be a guide, not a chain. He nods, understanding at last. Healing does not come in grand gestures or sudden miracles. It comes in small, steady acts of care for himself, for the world, for the life that continues to flow around him. When he rises, the fool feels lighter, steadier, more aligned, though the absence of his dog still lingers like a shadow at the edge of his heart. He carries the lesson with him, tucked quietly into his knapsack. Grief can be faced, balanced, and integrated. It does not vanish, but it need not break him. He steps forward along the riverbank, the water reflecting the sky, and feels the first gentle pulse of hope since the creeping darkness came. The fool walks through a shadowed valley, the sun muted behind a thick veil of clouds. The air feels heavy, almost sticky, and his steps drag through dust and fallen leaves. At first, he doesn't notice the shapes. the twisting shadows at the edge of his vision curling and slithering, and then he hears a low, coaxing whisper, smooth, warm, and insistent. "Why struggle?" it says. "Why carry your burdens when I can free you?" The fool stops. His chest tightens, his hands tremble. He wants to move forward, wants to trust the lessons of temperance, wants to walk in the light again, but the shadow grows taller, curling closer. The whisper coalesces into a figure not grotesque, not cruel, but magnetic, mesmerizing. Its eyes glint with charm, its smile a promise. "Give in," it purrs, voice like velvet. "Let me take your pain, your grief, your fear. Let me carry it for you. You don't have to struggle alone." The fool feels the temptation deep in his chest, a pull that is both soothing and dangerous. Like a warm fire licking cold stone, relief teases him. Ease beckons. The storm inside could be stilled with just a nod, a surrender. "Not like this," he whispers, but his voice is shaky. I can't." The devil tilts its head. "Why not? You are tired, weak. You've carried far too much. Step into my care. Rest, let go. What harm could it be to trust someone more capable than you?" It leans closer, and for a moment the fool is nearly undone. Every instinct, every ache in his body, every shadow of loneliness whispers yes. But then a thread of memory weaves through his mind, the lion's calm strength, the measure of justice, the patience of the hanged man, the river's steady flow. He feels the small, stubborn pulse of himself, fragile but undeniable. With a deep, trembling breath, he steps back. "No," he says firmly, voice stronger than he feels. "I will not give myself away, not like this. I will heal on my own terms." The devil's smile falters. It hisses, softly retreating, shadows collapsing into cracks and corners of the valley. Its charm lingers, a whisper at the edge of thought, but it does not follow. The air clears, light returns, subtle and warm, filtering through the clouds. The fool feels weak, vulnerable, human, but he also feels something sharper, steadier. Choice. Even in fear, even in temptation, he is learning to hold himself. Even in darkness, he can find his own path, and with that, he continues. Knapsack heavier with lessons, heart fragile yet intact, ready to face whatever comes next. The fool walks along a cliffside path at dusk, the sky a bruised mix of purples and golds. The wind is strong but steady, tugging at his hair and clothes, carrying the scent of salt and stone. Ahead, perched precariously on a cliff's edge, he sees a tower. Its silhouette is stark against the fading light, tall and solitary, a promise of shelter, a perch above the chaos below. He slows, chest tight with fatigue. The journey has been long, the lessons heavy, the grief lingering. Perhaps, he thinks, he could rest there for a while, just a moment to breathe, to gather himself before continuing. He approaches and runs a hand along the rough stone, feeling its cold permanence. Then, with a hesitant shrug, he begins to climb. Step by careful step, he ascends, feeling the wind tug at him, daring him to falter. But as he nears the top, The ground trembles, and a bolt of lightning splits the sky, striking the tower. Stone cracks, flames lick the edges, and the structure groans in protest. The fool freezes, heart hammering. He grips the tower desperately, but the fire spreads, the stone shifts, and in a moment, both terrifying and illuminating, the tower begins to fall. Everything he thought was safe, every assumption, every fragile hope of rest, crashes down around him. Sparks, dust and shards of stone rain from above. He stumbles back, breath catching, eyes wide, but amid the chaos, he understands the world does not pause for exhaustion. It does not offer rest, simply because he is tired. Sometimes it demands courage, even in the moments that he most longs to pause. The collapse is brutal, but it's honest. The destruction is not the end. It clears false foundations, exposes illusions, and shows what is real. He watches as the tower crumbles into rubble, and in its ruin, he feels clarity. What survives, the earth, the cliff, himself, is truth. What remains is the foundation he must carry forward. He rises slowly, chest heavy but steady, stepping away from the falling stone. The path ahead is uncertain, dangerous, and raw. But he has learned survival is not about avoiding the collapse, but about meeting it, understanding it, and moving through it. With each step, he feels the lesson settle into his bones. Life is sudden, life is violent, life is truth, and from its ruins, something stronger can grow. The fool continues along the cliffside, heart pounding, knapsack heavier with fire and ashes and a newfound understanding. He stumbles through a field beneath a night sky so dark it seems to swallow sound. Dust is still blinding him, thick and bitter on his tongue. His hands are scraped and raw, his knees bruised. Every part of him throbs, not just from the fall, but from everything that has crumbled within him. He doesn't know how long he's been walking. The stars above are blurred by smoke, the air heavy with the scent of ash. He feels smaller than he's ever felt, a shadow of the wanderer who once believed the road could never break him. Then, through the darkness, a glimmer, faint at first, like a memory of light. He follows it. Each step feels unsure, his legs trembling beneath him. The glow leads him to a pool of still water, its surface shimmering with reflected starlight, and there a woman kneels. She moves slowly, deliberately, pouring water from a vessel. Her presence hums with something wordless, something pure. She turns when he approaches, and he sees her eyes are filled with peace. "You've been through fire," she says gently, "but you are still here, and that means the light hasn't left you." He sinks to his knees beside her, the strength gone from his limbs. "Everything's broke," he whispers. "I broke. I don't know how to begin again." She smiles, draws water from the pool, and washes the dust from his face. Her hands, cool and steady. She binds his scraped hands with strips of linen, murmuring as she works, words he can't quite hear, but he feels deep in his chest. The ache begins to ease. The fear quiets. When she finishes, she rests a hand against his forehead. "Sleep," she whispers. "The world will still be here when you wake." He lies down beside the pool, the grass damp and sweet beneath him. The night no longer feels cruel, it feels vast, protective. The stars above him seem closer now, as though they're watching over him. Before sleep claims him, he sees her silhouette, framed by the faint shimmer of her light, eternal, unhurried, constant. and as he drifts into dreams, the last thought that crosses his mind is not loss or ruin, but renewal. And even after the fall, something gentle was still waiting for him in the dark. The fool wakes to the sound of water lapping gently against the shore, but it's not morning yet. The night is deep, darker than before. The stars have retreated behind a veil of mist. He blinks, searching for the soft glow that had watched over him, but she is gone. Only silence and the memory of her hands washing the dust from his skin. The fireflies have vanished. The pool is still. The world feels suspended, holding its breath. He rises slowly, his limbs stiff but mended. He considers waiting until dawn, but something inside urges him onward. The moon hangs low and full, swollen and strange, bathing the world in a cold, shifting silver. He begins to walk. The forest swallows him almost immediately. Trees tall and ancient, their branches woven tight, mist curls around his ankles, cool and heavy. He stumbles over a root he can't see, muttering with frustration under his breath. The deeper he goes, the stranger it feels. Shadows stretch into impossible shapes. Somewhere far off, a wolf howls. One voice and then another replies. He stops, his heart hammering. "I can't see where I'm going," he pleads into the silence. But the moon does not fade. She hangs above him, steady and watchful, casting just enough light to make out the next step and never more. Something stirs inside him then, that quiet lesson the star had left behind. Trust the gentle things. He breathes, slow and careful. The shadows are only frightening because he believes them to be. He presses forward. He feels the crunch of wet leaves beneath his boots, the cool air brushing his face, the scent of damp moss and stone, and the forest begins to move with him, its rhythm softening, matching his breath. He starts to see faint shapes, a narrow path winding through the trees, a marking carved into bark, a glimmer on the edge of a puddle. Not everything is what it seems, yet not everything that shifts is dangerous. And somewhere deep, subtle, wordless, the moon speaks. All is not as it appears. Trust what is felt, not what is seen. Step by step, he learns to listen, to move through uncertainty without demanding light. The forest no longer feels like a maze. It feels alive, whispering guidance in its own language. By the time he reaches the edge of the trees, the first pale threads of dawn begin to pull at the horizon. He stops and looks back once at the forest, at the strange, quiet beauty of the night he survived. The fool smiles faintly. He understands now, darkness is not absence. It is a teacher, patient, unyielding, but real. As he steps into the soft blush of morning, he carries the moonlight within him, a reminder that even when the world is uncertain, his path is his own to see. Then a glow, faint at first, almost fragile but growing. He turns towards it, blinking as the first rays crest the horizon. The sun rises, slow, magnificent, spilling gold across the land. The light floods everything, the trees, the field, his face. It warms his chilled skin, melts the weight from his shoulders, and he laughs. Sudden, bright, uncontrollable laughter that bursts from him like the morning itself. And the world responds in kind. Birds lift from the branches, singing in a wild chorus. Dewdrops ignite into diamonds across the grass. Somewhere in the distance, children's laughter rings out pure and unguarded, and the fool stands in the middle of it all, eyes closed, arms outstretched, turning his face to the sun. "I feel it again," he cries. "Hope, joy, love." The warmth deepens, wrapping around him like an embrace. It feels alive, not just heat, but light itself, speaking through every beam. You have walked through the darkness. You have faced fear, loss, illusion, and doubt, and still you rise. Tears slip down his cheeks, though he doesn't know why. Not from sadness, but from the sheer relief of being alive and remembering that light always returns. He spins in slow circles, laughter mixing with birdsong, his shadow chasing him playfully across the ground. Every lesson, from the magician's power, the empress's love, the hermit's silence, the star's faith, burns within him now, radiant and real. He kneels, pressing his palms to the warm earth, whispering his gratitude to everything, the dark, the light, the journey itself. The fool rises, eyes bright with wonder. The path ahead shimmers beneath the sunlight, open and alive. The sun above him is not just warmth, it's truth, renewal, and proof that after every ending, something beautiful always begins again. And so he walks forward, carrying the dawn inside him. He steps into a sun-drenched valley, the warmth still lingering on his skin, and then a sound, a trumpet, bold and clear, cutting through the valley like a call to attention, echoing over the hills and threading through the sunlight. He freezes. The air feels charged, almost vibrating. The voice speaks not with anger, but with the weight of truth itself. Have you learned, fool? Have you truly understood what your journey demanded? He feels his knees weaken, his heart thundering. Every trial, every shadow, every choice, they rise up around him. The magician's spark, the high priestess's silence, the tower's fire, the moon's uncertainty, the sun's warmth, all converge, whispering, testing. "Did I?" he murmurs. I tried. I've learned. I think I have." The voice softens, but does not relent. To proceed, you must face yourself fully. No illusions, no excuses, no half measures. Are you ready to rise? The fool closes his eyes. He recalls the lion, the river, the night, the storm, the stars, the moonlight, every lesson, every scar, every triumph and failure. He feels the weight of his own heart, trembling but steadying. He realizes he cannot pretend, he cannot hide, he cannot ignore the truth. "I am ready," he says, voice trembling but firm. "I accept all I have been, all I have lost, all I have become, and I choose to rise." The valley shimmers, light floods the air. The fool feels himself lifted, not physically, but in spirit. A quiet, profound rebirth. He is not the same as he was when he began. He carries every lesson, every shadow, every spark of light within him. He has passed the reckoning. He has faced himself. He can proceed. And then a joyful sound, familiar and pure. His dog bursts into the clearing, tail wagging, bounding toward him through the sunlit grass. The fool laughs, a sound of sheer relief and elation, and drops to his knees. "You're back," he says, voice catching. The dog nuzzles him happily. In that moment, the weight of his journey lifts, replaced with a profound, simple joy. He is whole, he is alive, he is ready. The call fades, the air settles. The fool stands taller, knapsack heavy with wisdom, heart still open and steady. And for the first time in this long journey, he knows that some rewards, The truest, purest ones are found not just in lessons learned, but in the companions who wait for you along the way. The fool steps into a meadow, the air crisp and fragrant. He pauses and takes one last, lingering look back. The path behind stretches endlessly, a tapestry of shadows and light and storms and stars and loss and triumph. Every step, every scar, every lesson is tucked carefully into his knapsack, heavier but radiant with wisdom. A faint, distant sound reaches him over the meadow, a steady, rhythmic rush, the ocean just beyond the cliff's edge. The breeze carries whispers of all he has seen and felt, and for a moment he lets himself feel the weight and the wonder of how far he has come. The magician taught him that the power he sought was always within. The high priestess showed him that some truths are felt, not spoken. The empress reminded him that nurturing, care, and presence are gifts both given and received. The emperor proved that structure, discipline, and boundaries are strength, not chains. The Hierophant offered sanctuary and the quiet guidance of tradition tempered with choice. The lovers taught him that love is decision and that the heart and the mind must walk together. The chariot revealed that momentum, focus, and determination can carry him through chaos. Strength whispered that patience, courage, and gentleness tame even the wildest of fears. The hermit invited him into stillness, showing that self-reflection is the lantern in the dark. The Wheel of Fortune reminded him that life turns unpredictably and that surrender is also power. Justice spoke of balance, of truth, of actions measured with awareness and care. The Hanged Man taught him the wisdom of pause, of seeing the world from new angles. Death arrived, fierce, unapologetic, and taught that endings are the soil of new beginnings. Temperance showed him the art of blending, of patience, of healing, and finding equilibrium. The devil confronted him with temptation, fear, and the chains he must break within himself. The tower tore down illusions, leaving him bruised but awake, aware and stronger. The star offered gentle hope, care, and the promise that light persists even in the deepest night. The moon whispered that shadows exist, yes, but they can guide, not frighten, if he trusts his instincts. The sun reminded him of joy, vitality, and the radiant warmth of life renewed. Judgment asked him to stand, to answer for all he had learned, to embrace himself fully and step forward with understanding. He breathes it all in, letting each lesson pulse through him, each moment folding into the next, forming the shape of who he has become. Then he steps forward, and for a heartbeat, panic flares. He realizes he has returned to where he first began, the edge, the cliff, the spark of go. For a moment, fear whispers, "I have to do it all again?" But he realizes the weight of every lesson, every encounter, every triumph and scar now travels with him. He will not be empty-handed. This time, he carries everything: courage and patience, hope and love, discipline and reflection, joy and resilience. He is still a fool, but he's not naive. He laughs as the realization settles. The horizon stretches endlessly before him, light spilling over the fields. He pats his dog gently on the head, feeling the warmth and loyalty of this familiar companion. He steps forward again, now seen with new eyes, every shadow and light held firmly in his heart. And with that step, the circle closes and opens once more. The journey ends and begins again. Several years ago, I created a video called The Fool's Journey, and it was received in ways that I could have never imagined. I'm truly grateful for every view, every comment, every moment of connection that came from it. But like the Fool, I've walked my own path since then. I've faced lessons, missteps, triumphs, and quiet revelations, and I carry them with me. And I realised that the story I told years ago could be told again. Not better, not worse, just different. A reflection of who I am now and what I've learned along the way. So there it was, a retelling, a new journey through old cards, through new eyes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for walking a little of this path with me.